No problem is too small to solve. I have said no when I had to say no. As designers, we also need to understand that we cannot change the world alone. When we started Elephant in 1989, India was an economy of scarcity, and differentiation wasn't even a business need as yet. But we've had this radical idea from NID: design isn't a luxury, it's not a tool, it's a democracy. And every project we took wasn't just about building our business. It was an opportunity to prove that good design could create social change. 36 years later, I can say that you don't have to choose between profit and purpose. You can integrate both. It can come together. No business wants to do a disservice to the world. In every possible way, success can come to you if you've done good. Whether it is money, fame, satisfaction, it'll all come if you've done good. I only have admiration for anybody who's running a design consultancy. Yeah, like we say that we don't need more design. We need more design that matters.
So, coming up on Design Mindset, how the co founder of India's largest independent design consultancy built a business model that proves commercial success and social impact aren't just compatible, they are inseparable. Hey everyone, welcome to Design Mindset. I'm Radhika Seth. Today, we are going to deep dive into one of the most important conversations for creative professionals. How do you build a thriving business while staying true to your values? How do you measure success when profit is just one piece of a much larger puzzle? My guest today is the living proof that purpose-driven business isn't just idealism, it's smart strategy. Ashwini Deshpande co-founded Elephant Design in 1989, when India's economy was still closed and the very concept of design consultancy was foreign. But she and her co-founders didn't just build a business. Ask me, and trust me, they built a movement. From those early days of creating awareness about design's business value to her transformative work after her Rockefeller Foundation engagement on social impact design, to co-founding The Collective for safer creative workplaces, Ashwini has consistently proven that the most sustainable businesses are those that serve something bigger than themselves. She's been recognized among the 50 most influential women in media for 10 consecutive years, mentors entrepreneurs through TIE, and has spent decades integrating social impact to commercial success. Today, Elephant Design employs more than 70 people and works with brands globally, all while maintaining the design for all philosophy that she picked up and learned at NID. Ashwini, welcome to Design Mindset.
Thank you, Radhika. Good to be here.
Well, we are very happy to have you here. So I'm going to start and go straight into the crux of things and start with your foundational philosophy. So at NID, you learned that design for all, in the Indian context, of course, that design isn't luxury, but a tool to improve things. So when you started Elephant in 1989 in a scarcity economy, how did this philosophy shape your early business decisions?
So, Radhika, I want you to visualize the time that was. And we're talking about late 80s. Computers were just making an entry in workplaces. There were just two models of cars in India. There were no speeding motorbikes. There were scooters which would be bought on installments and waited for years to get oneself a scooter.
Mhm.
Very few airports. We didn't drink mineral water from plastic bottles,
Correct.
and there were no branded clothes, no malls. So I want you to really go back in those times and visualize what
Wow.
India was. So, anyone who was willing to invest in design to
Hmm.
improve anything, something,
Hmm.
be it their products, their communication, or even their short lived displays, expos, anything at all, it was going to be a boost to the way Indians consumed.
Hmm.
It was going to be a positive difference, positive impact on the Indian economy.
Hmm.
So, that is all that mattered that time. That
Hmm.
even if you could get an opportunity to do that one little change,
Hmm.
one little positive impact, and that's the way we looked at it at that time
Hmm.
because the landscape was very different.
Yeah, so essentially, what you were creating at that time, if I may blatantly say so, was that Apple moment. You were giving something to people that they didn't even know that they needed. And in those early years, when getting any project was an opportunity to create social change, how did you balance the idealism and the practical need to keep, the business alive? How did that come about?
So, one of the disclaimers, we were just 22 or 23-year-olds. Okay. So, we were not looking at something in that longer term or that seriously. But we were there for making a difference. So, that was for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that you can do anything, you can do good only if you survive to do that. I mean,
Correct.
there is a saying in Hindi, and I will translate that.
Mm-hmm.
Sar salamat to pagdi pachas. So if
Uh-huh.
your head is intact, then you can wear as many crowns. But if you don't
Correct.
have the head in place, then what's going to happen in the future?
Mm-hmm.
So it was important to get financial stability and have a business model that could grow, that could employ more designers, and in turn spread the impact of design through more projects across more users,
Mm-hmm.
across more businesses, more geographies, and so on. So it was very important to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, we could not have ignored the aspect of making a commercial sense out of what we were doing. And so that's really how we looked at it that time. And then to help Indian businesses get a globally competitive edge through design.
Mm-hmm.
That seemed like a great place to be at that time. And as India was opening out, getting the liberalization movement in place, it seemed like the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we also believed, uh, and I still believe it even after 36 years, that what we do is a part of nation building.
Mm-hmm.
And we also believe that we deserve to get sufficiently compensated for it.
Correct.
So it was both. It was never, a blind sort of charitable enterprise,
Mm-hmm.
because then we wouldn't have survived
Mm-hmm.
and we wouldn't have got the good people that we have working with us if we were not financially stable. So that's just the way it was at that time, and it continues.
That's amazing, So I see that there was evolution and, India liberalized and the differentiation, became a business need as we grew. So, how did you ensure Elephant's growth didn't compromise those foundation values that you had, the design for all, because that may not be, making business sense for people, but you as designers and your company, how did you all make sure that that happened?
So, a design is successful if you've got the right user insights and you based your strategy on those insights.
Mm,
And that's a fact. Like there's no shortcut to it. There's no shortcut to deeply understanding
mm,
users. So as long as your differentiation is based on a user insight or user insights, and you're solving pain points either for the users or for the businesses that are delivering those services or products to the users,
mm,
or any other ecosystem that plays in between, which is distribution, logistics, and so on, you're doing good by default.
mm,
If you're solving, you're doing good by default. So I think that the focus is not really on doing good, but focus is first on doing right, and
mm,
doing right by knowing the right things to solve by the right methods. And
mm.
so at its core, no business wants to do a disservice to the world.
Correct.
At its core, nobody wants to be bad. And you
Uh-huh.
have to believe in that. And we always sort of looked at the good side of the world and we said, glass is half full. And, let's look at that and focus our energies on that part. So, as designers, we also need to understand that we cannot change the world alone.
Correct.
One, we don't have the capability to
Mm,
by ourselves. And two, we don't have the onus on us by ourselves.
correct.
It's a collective responsibility.
Correct.
So there is a very large business landscape that is
Mm,
solving and making for a larger good, for a
mm,
larger use.
mm,
Our job is to help them do it and help them do it better in terms of materials, processes, usability, and
mm,
if you can add delight in the
mm,
process for the user, that's
mm,
an icing on the cake, right? So we cannot do it single-handedly, but we have to focus on doing what we can do.
mm,
It's like if I start advising a business on its financial model,
mm.
I am not a competent person to do it,
Correct.
but I'm competent to tell them something else which I know. So I should focus on that part and then the good happens.
Mm.
That's the belief.
So, yeah, I guess a good way to summarize that is, by creating awareness about design's business value is how you kind of help businesses grow and understand the importance of it. And, that sounds like you were not just running a consultancy, but being an evangelist of that mindset also. So, how do you kind of approach that dual role of service provider and an industry educator, given especially in context to India, because people back then were not so aware about design and the service of design, so to say.
True. So honestly, I can say we strategize and we,
Mm.
thought about it this way and we put down our system, etc. But that's not true. Honestly, we had no choice.
Mm.
Nobody knew that they had to pay design fees to get a design consulting advice. That's the times that we had entered in. Okay. So
Yeah.
prior to Elephant and a handful of other consultancies who were around us, no
Hmm.
industry or business had ever hired a design consultancy. Yeah. So their branding and communication needs would be served by or serviced by advertising agencies.
Correct.
And
Correct.
in those days, they would throw in those services for free against the media budgets that they would earn from. And that's a fact. And I mean, there's no running away from it. They would
Correct.
admit it, and we
Yes.
all knew it.
Yeah.
And at product design, the needs were fulfilled by what was then called as R&D, which is
Mhm.
refer and duplicate. Okay. So
Yeah.
they didn't really use design prior to what we started out as a
Yeah.
consulting company. So hardly any products were designed for India based on
Mm.
local needs and insights. So
True.
that was the landscape. So we had no choice. We just had to be the evangelists who could tell people that design is actually good design is good business, good design is profit for you, and so on.
Correct.
So when we came on the scene and started approaching the
Mm.
industry for work,
Mm.
we had to begin by making them realize that you
Mm.
can make profits if you employ good design.
Correct.
And whether you work with us or you work with whoever else, but
Mm.
design is going to help you make profits.
Mm.
And that was the only choice we had. And of course we continued doing that, but
Yeah.
you have to prove that as well, right? Eventually you have
Correct.
to prove
Correct.
that good design actually made good profits, and
Yeah.
probably it happened along the way, and that sort of gave us more work and so on.
Yeah. Really hats off to you guys. It reminds me, it brings to mind an anecdote that I will share with you and my viewers also here. That I had interviewed Kareem Rashid once, and
Hmm.
back in it's been quite a while now. And at that
Hmm.
time, he had told me that he was one of the people who had, spoken to the Italian businesses and had asked that, designers should be paid royalty. So it's
Hmm.
not just the design consultancy fee just for the product, because you make a chair and then it goes on to make so much of, profits
Right,
year on
right.
year. So
Sure.
they were just being paid just for the design of it, but never
Right,
in the business sense of it. So he
right.
was kind of quite instrumental in getting that,
Wow.
motion also adopted by the Italian furniture designers who were totally not into this kind of a business model. But you are the foot soldiers who've actually, made this breakthrough for the generations that who today can proudly, demand that, design consultancy, and it is a part of business expense and that you need to do it,
Right.
and it's not what you described as R&D as.
Now that you use the word business expense, I think that's another thing we used to tell all the businesses, that
Hmm.
design is not a marketing expense. It's a
Yeah,
capital investment.
correct.
So don't look at it as a marketing expense. It's
Yeah,
not just a lip service.
yeah,
It's a capital investment. It's going to give you returns.
yeah.
And that was also a mind shift that sort of worked in our favor many a times.
Good. I'm so glad that it did, and I'm going to take this moment now to go on and shift gears to something different. I'm going to
Hmm.
talk to you about your pivotal moment in your journey. In 2008, the Rockefeller Foundation, through Continuum, invited 12 designers from around the world and to ideate how designers could work on social impact projects.
Right.
So that must have been a very transformative experience, you know. So what led to that invitation and what was that process like?
So, I mean, truly, it was transformative in a sense that it sort of gave some kind of a conduit to what one was always wanting to do.
Mm-hmm.
And Continuum being one of our associates and friends in the US in the design world, I think made that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so all of us want to do good, right? I mean, like I said, whether you're a business or an individual,
Mm-hmm.
you want to do good. But
Correct.
many of us have no idea where or how to begin,
Mm.
because the world is full of wicked problems like world poverty, world hunger,
Mm.
ocean spills,
Correct.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
So you don't know where to begin. You feel overwhelmed, you feel inadequate to solve them, and
Mm.
we sort of come to a sort of a freeze moment that
Mm.
I want to do, but I don't know how to. And
Mm.
that's really where many of us are most of the times. But
Mm.
there was a belief that designers would be good at solving social problems
Mm.
because they have a training in solving any problem systematically
Correct.
and through a stepwise process. So if
Mm.
they know the process, they can employ that process to any problem and it could be solved in a
Mm.
much better way. So why is it that they were not doing it? And the workshop was really to an intervention to sort of get us to visualize how we could operate in the social impact space without hindering our commercial commitments.
Mm.
So it was not expected that we will leave everything that we were doing and only start doing social impact projects. It was the other way around. It was like continue doing what you're doing because that
Wow.
gives you the stability to do more, right?
Correct. Correct.
So that's where it began, and that's why it was transformative because it
Mm.
wasn't a commitment that was asking us to leave something.
Mm.
It was something that helped us visualize what more we could do.
Mm.
And that's really why it was transformative because once you understand how you could add something more to what you can
Mm.
do,
Mm.
your next step is to add even more and even more. And,
Correct.
you can go on. So that's really where the thing began
Wow.
systematically.
And you came back from that experience with three pledges on
I did.
on integrating social impact into commercial projects. So, can you share something about those pledges and how that changed Elephant's approach to business?
Yeah. So, one of the best things about that workshop and that intervention was that we had to conclude and
Hmm.
we had to say, this is how the next step is going to be.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times you come back very inspired, but do
Hmm.
nothing about it. So
Hmm.
the idea was that we come back with these pledges and see how we can make them work. And we had to define those pledges. And
Hmm.
because we were doing it ourselves based on
Hmm.
all that we had discussed,
Hmm.
we made sure that they were feasible. We were not going to do something that was,
Yeah.
beyond our means.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I'll tell my three pledges, and I'm always happy to share them, and you can make them your own.
Hmm.
Um, so the first one, I mentioned these wicked problems, right? The
Yeah.
ocean spills and so on.
Yeah.
The first pledge is you have to start with backyard problems.
Hmm.
No problem is too small to solve.
Correct.
As long as you get into it and you begin solving it.
Hmm.
In fact, sometimes something that seems very simple, when you start solving it, it has multiple layers of complexity. And
Hmm.
if you can simplify those layers, the problem is half solved, right?
Correct.
So starting with backyard problems is one of my first one of the first things that I decided, and that was interestingly. So as when I came back, uh, we are located in a particular area in Pune. It's
Hmm.
called Baudhan,
Hmm.
and in and around our studio, there were parts of old city or old
Hmm.
village areas which had not yet been integrated into the city.
Hmm.
And therefore, they were dwellings of the kinds that you find in the rural areas.
Hmm.
They had the issue uh, of creating awareness about garbage segregation. And these communities had to be made aware of what happens if you don't do the garbage segregation between wet and dry garbage,
Hmm.
and what happens if you do, and how you're going to help the world by doing that.
Hmm.
And we said that's perfectly the problem that we should begin with. And
Hmm.
we created a whole lot of literature, we created a little skit, workshops, pamphlets,
Wow.
brochures, what have you.
Wow.
And that's literally next door. I mean, literally a backyard
Wow.
problem.
Wow.
And there is so much to learn by doing something like this, and it becomes a model. Because if we
Correct.
could do it in this community, it could
Then you,
be replicated, and so
yeah.
on and so forth, right?
Mm, mm,
So, that's like one of the first things that I would say anybody should look at, that no problem is small and you can begin at the
mm,
smallest of problems.
yeah.
The second pledge was you have to work on social impact through your own competency.
Okay.
Yeah. Which means if mine is visual communication, then
Mm.
that's what I should do to solve that problem.
Oh.
I'm not probably the best person to go and collect donations. I'm probably not the best person to go and have a procession,
Mm,
shout slogans or
mm,
whatever else. I may not be the best person to do that because that's not my core competency. But
mhm.
mine is to do visual communication. So if I can use that to solve any kind of social impact issue, I will be most effective because I'm using it with my own competency. I'm doing it with what I do best,
Correct.
and therefore my impact is going to be the largest that's possible for me, right?
Absolutely.
So as long as you identify what is your core competency and
Hmm.
use that for a social impact cause, it's going to see the most effect. So that's the second one. And the third one is you can ride on commercial projects to introduce a social impact project.
Hmm.
And that is so true. Like I said, no business wants to do bad. And if you just pop up an opportunity for them to do good, they are very receptive
Wow.
along the commercial project. And couple of examples I can give, we landed up working with Britannia on creating the Britannia Nutrition Foundation,
Oh.
which in turn fitted perfectly in their competency,
Oh.
right?
Okay.
Because for Britannia to create a nutrition foundation was perfect in their competency.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
for
Of
me or
course.
for us, Elephant, to create a visualization and communication for them was perfect in our competency.
Hmm.
And that's the way things can go. Or we got to work with Procter and Gamble's Shiksha program, which
Hmm.
is creating rural schools
Ah.
uh, through their CSR activity. And we managed to create certain newer programs within that based on what we had to bring in or we could bring in. So it was always possible. If you have an agenda, you can do. You
Hmm.
have to go into the project with a little agenda, which is hidden initially, but then you bring
Yeah.
it out at the right time.
Yeah. Wow. So that's really a very clever way of, doing social impact and bringing it into the business sense also. And wow, lovely, lovely examples. Just a second for my for my viewers who don't know, Britannia is a brand that has makes food products like biscuits, and Procter and Gamble, of course, is the hygiene products. And Siksha means to learn, basically to study in Hindi. All right. So my next question to you, actually, Ashwini, is this: that your experience at Rockefeller, it brought together designers, globally to think about social impact. What did you learn from your international peers, about different approaches to purpose-driven design business?
So, we have a very, how shall I put it? We have very different backdrops when it comes to India and our counterparts in the
Correct.
developed world like Europe or US.
Hmm.
So our problems are very different. So, for example, one of the peers said that one of the fellow designers said that he wanted to design a robotic popcorn feeder arm
Hmm.
for a person with disability
Hmm.
so that that person's movie watching experience would be complete.
Hmm.
And he truly believed that that was a social impact project.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not being judgmental at all, but in my opinion, it was like it would be great for
Hmm.
that person and maybe a few more.
Hmm.
But in my opinion, what is a social impact project for me with the Indian landscape? It
Hmm.
is something that will have an impact on a very large number of people.
Hmm.
Like the impact could be accessed by a large number of people, and that's what I would call a social impact project. So,
Hmm.
our ways of looking at things or looking at problems is very different. And I'm not saying what is right or what is wrong,
Hmm.
but we cannot compare. So, for
Correct.
example, for me in my context, there
Hmm.
are so many other priorities to solve
Hmm.
than to spend time on designing this
Hmm.
kind of a device, right?
Correct.
But
Correct.
maybe in their scheme of things, priorities, it's quite up there to do this for somebody to create an experience which is
Hmm.
delightful and they are deprived from it and so on, right? So it's just very hard for us to imagine because we are culturally so different,
Correct.
societally so different.
Correct.
And it was, on the other hand, it was very hard for some of them to comprehend
Hmm.
how a poor beggar on an Indian street could be smiling happily,
Hmm.
as they largely relate money to happiness.
Correct.
And again, I'm not saying right or wrong, it's just the
No.
context that we are brought up in.
Yeah.
And, so it's very sort of unfair to compare or learn.
Hmm.
But the thing to learn from each of us was really that the intention has to be authentic.
Hmm.
And as long as the intention is authentic, we will create a good social impact.
Yeah. I kind of get this because Yanko Design gets almost 100 submissions a day, and we
Hmm.
curate so many projects and so many
Right,
ideas that come across to our inboxes. And sometimes the cultural difference and the context, sometimes you think that this is really not worth it, and like, what is the designer thinking? But then, like you said, it's not for us to judge why he created the product. It's to see it objectively, because in totality, maybe in that context and that in that background,
right,
it makes
right,
complete sense,
right,
you
right.
know. So I quite understand and get where you're coming from, because for India, uh, these kind of projects, social impact really is largest, got to do with bringing up people, upliftment in the society,
Right.
and more often than not in context to money related issues like housing and well-being of people, basically
Yeah, giving access basically
giving access
to a
to.
very large number of people, and that's really where it should be for us in our context.
Yes, yes, correct, correct. So let's fast forward to today,
Yeah.
and let's talk a little bit about your team and the culture that you'll have
Hmm.
at Elephant. So you are 70 plus people right now.
Hmm.
How do you instill this purpose driven approach in team members who may not have experienced that foundational design for all philosophy that you guys have learned at NID?
Right. So there are two ways to look at it. One is that sometimes with all good intentions, somebody joins the team and everybody has all the good intentions to make it work, but
Hmm.
it doesn't. And then we say that, okay, some people don't ride an elephant.
Hmm.
So if the philosophies don't match,
Hmm.
again, not being judgmental at all, but it's not for you to ride the elephant. But on the other hand, for designers, there is only one focus, according to us, and we believe we are users advocates,
Hmm.
and sort of that's been the philosophy,
Hmm.
that we are the users advocates, and then so long as we are able to do a solve for them,
Hmm.
everything else will fall in place.
Hmm.
You may approach it one way or another. You
Hmm.
may be a Gen Z, and therefore the way you approach a problem is different because your context is different, and I may be a
Hmm.
millennial, and so on. But as long as you're able to solve for the user,
Hmm.
things fall in place. And that's really the band that we all need to be in.
Hmm.
And we're always doing a deep dive into users, into changing societal trends,
Hmm.
into their ideal impact. What is this project supposed to do? What is the ideal impact? If
Hmm.
we know that,
Hmm.
that's the goalpost, right?
Hmm.
How you reach sometimes is not as important as
Correct,
whether you reach or not,
correct, correct,
because it's not a mathematical problem. That steps also need to be right and solution also needs to be right, right?
correct, correct, correct.
So, so we have to visualize all these scenarios
Hmm.
eventually, and if they fall in place, then we are in the right space, and
Yeah,
then we are all in the right space in the same space, right? So
yeah,
this sort of keeps us relevant and even ahead of the curve and
yeah,
aligned,
yeah,
because we know what the focus is.
correct. Yeah,
Focus
no,
is the user.
yeah, no, it makes complete sense, because oftentimes uh, some people, some designers, most morely than any, forget that design is actually a business problem. Like a business solution. You're
Right.
solving a business problem. So it's not art, it's not creative, it's not just for the women fancy of making a better looking
Yeah.
phone or a better looking doorknob. If you're making a newer doorknob, there has to be a reason, a purpose. It should sell.
Absolutely.
It should sell. So that's when you've really solved a problem for the consumer
Yeah.
as well as your
Yeah.
business partner. So I
Yeah.
completely get where you're coming from.
Yeah, like we say that we don't need more design. We need more design that matters.
Yeah, true, true. So you co-founded the collective to create safer working spaces for women in creative industries. That's a perfect example of translating personal values into industry-wide change. How do you balance being successful business leader along with being an activist for systematic changes?
So, my father used to tell me as I was growing up that busy people can always find time to do more.
Hmm.
And, because busy is a myth,
Huh.
which you keep telling yourself and you create a mythological character out of yourself.
Hmm.
So, it was an unfortunate moment, the Me Too movement that was happening at that point in time.
Hmm.
And the need of the hour was that something had to be done. And we unfortunately heard a lot of cases even within the creative industry, within advertising agencies, media agencies, and so on.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so some of us from the creative industry got together
Hmm.
and put out a manifesto.
Wow.
And it had two reasons. One was to announce that we were available for support for those who needed the support or those who needed somebody as a sounding board or to figure out what to do next if they had suffered something.
Mhm.
And for those who were involved in the allegations,
Hmm.
we wanted them to know that they are answerable to somebody
Hmm.
and we are there and they are answerable to us. And
Hmm.
this cannot just be pushed under the carpet.
Hmm.
So this was the start. And then beyond that, we also created certain modules
Mhm.
and we went and visited agencies, met the senior leadership,
Hmm.
and took them through those modules so that they understood what was okay and what was not okay, and that we were there.
Hmm.
And I think that in itself sort of created some kind of a balance or support or answerability. And I won't say it can be eradicated 100%. The issue doesn't just go away because this
Hmm.
kind of an issue is as old as mankind.
Correct.
Uh, but at least we are there, and we are there for support as well as for somebody to be answerable to.
That's really, really
This was like the need of the hour. So,
very, very inspiring. So, looking at the industry, design industry today, there's a lot of talk about purpose-driven design, but
mhm,
often it feels like a, marketing buzzword or a, marketing speak. So, based on
yeah.
your experience, of actually doing this, how can young designers distinguish between authentic purpose-driven work and just purpose washing?
This is a great phrase that you use, purpose washing.
Hmm.
It's super rampant. And unfortunately, if
Hmm.
you just take a look at the winners of many of the global design competitions,
Hmm.
you'll be drowned in purpose washing,
Hmm.
unfortunately.
Hmm.
But beneath it all, there are some quiet movements,
Hmm.
that are making a difference one idea at a time.
Hmm.
Those ideas may not sparkle or shine or win an
Hmm.
award or,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
go out there, but they'll make a positive difference to the users
Hmm.
and also to the businesses that support these ideas, which
Hmm.
are actually making a positive change. So
Hmm.
we believe in doing those partnerships. And I
Hmm.
think that's really what I always tell our team as well as other young designers that I meet,
Hmm.
that the that shine and glory of purpose washing will only take you that far,
Hmm.
but it will leave you dissatisfied
Hmm.
because you wouldn't have actually made the difference that you have the potential to do.
Hmm.
So the simple thing to ask yourself is, have you done what your potential was
Hmm.
or what the project's potential was? Have you made that degree of difference? Did you move the needle as much as the potential was?
Hmm.
And I think young people understand that. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they won't engage in purpose washing just for the sake of that shiny, glorified trophy.
So you've been influential in Indian design education and industry development. How do you see the next generation of designers approaching this balance between commercial success and social impact?
Somebody once said, you can do well by doing good.
Hmm.
Very simply said, but very difficult to follow. And, one has always tried doing that. But it's not 100% success, I would say.
Hmm.
But so that is really the question designers need to ask themselves when they approach a challenge. Are they doing well?
Hmm.
Uh, are they doing good? What
Hmm.
is the intention? What is the final goalpost?
Hmm.
I think as long as that goalpost is set right and you're not changing it just for convenience,
Hmm.
you will probably get there in the right way.
Hmm.
And there's again this doing well by doing good also has a hidden meaning in it that when you're doing good, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be successful.
Correct.
In every possible way, success can come to you if you've done good. Whether it is money, fame, satisfaction, it'll all come if you've done good.
Correct.
And I can say this with conviction after so many years.
I know.
So just simply do good.
Correct. Live today. Today matters. Live this the fullest. And
Start now.
yeah,
Yes.
start now. Yeah. Start talking about starting now. So if you were to start Elephant today, in 2025, with everything that you know about building purpose-driven businesses, what would you do differently?
I think I would choose the project slightly differently.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. I think nothing else would be very different because while it does sound like an adventure now, I don't think it was an adventure to just start a design company in those times because honestly, we didn't have really many other choices. It wasn't like placement coordinators
Hmm.
queuing up outside NID. There was no such thing.
Wow.
Nobody was employing designers. So this seemed like the right thing to do. But I would do it again
Mm-hmm.
for the freedom of being able to do the right projects,
Hmm.
do them in the right way, and do them for a large set of people.
Hmm.
But maybe I would just choose the projects a little differently.
Hmm. So this brings me to a very exciting part of our show, which is called the
Hmm.
Design Mindset Challenge. Okay.
Okay. Oops.
I'm going to be giving you a hypothetical situation.
Hmm.
Think it through and then let me know how you would solve for it. Okay.
Okay.
So imagine a major multinational corporation approaches you with a
Yeah.
very lucrative rebranding project. Okay.
Hmm.
The brief is very straightforward. The budget is also very substantial and it would be great for your team's growth. But as you dig a little deeper, you discover the company has some questionable labor practices in their supply chain.
Hmm.
Okay. And that conflict with your design for all values, basically. And your team is excited about the creative possibilities. Your business could use the revenue, but you're weighing in on all your experience from the Rockefeller Foundation pledges and everything. And the client isn't asking you to fix their supply chain issues or anything, just to make their brand look more appealing and modern. Basically, that's the brief. So, how would you navigate this? Do you take the project and try to influence from within? Do you decline the project and miss the growth opportunity? Or would you find a third way that honors both your business needs as well as your values, or maybe some other option?
I don't have to think a lot. It is a tough one. And of course, I have faced it in some way or another.
Uh-huh.
But if you remember my third pledge,
Hmm.
it fits perfectly here, which is you have to write a good social impact project on the back of a commercial project
Correct.
because no business at its core wants to do bad.
Hmm.
And I would go into this project with that belief that they don't want to do bad, but probably they have not paid attention to what is right.
Hmm.
And if through right branding and right set of values in place, if
Hmm.
we ask them to look at all the practices that don't align with their values and change those. Because we've done that in the past with many of the companies where we always say that your corporate branding is actually an inside out exercise.
Hmm. Correct. Correct.
So, whatever is your core, we will only help you articulate it. We are
Hmm.
not going to bring in something new from thin air, right? So the moment you start doing that kind of digging inside and you look at some practices that clearly lead to wrong set of values,
Hmm.
no business is going to, or no leader is going to want to sort of adopt those wrong set of values and say, hey, these are our values, right?
Correct.
So if these are not your values, then
Hmm.
what are you doing here?
Correct.
Right? So it's a simple business equation that you define a set of values and
Huh.
you put projects on top of each value,
Huh.
saying this is how you make this value come alive.
Huh.
And this labor issue or whatever that issue is will
Huh.
have to be put on top of a value for connection.
Hmm.
So I think it's actually a very simply done thing, as
Hmm.
long as, of course, people are listening.
Yeah.
And I do believe that if people are working with us, they would want to
Listen.
listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how you've approached this, because finding ways to create value alignment rather than just, rejecting the conflict or, moving away or like it's just a very sophisticated way of thinking, and I'm sure it comes from decades of integrating, purpose with profit into your system. So, yeah, I'm really glad that you gave me this answer, and I'm sure it holds a lot of value for everyone who's listening to this. So, I'm time for our rapid fire as we come to
There
a
is a rapid fire.
yes,
Okay.
there's a rapid fire just for the fun of it because I think the
Sure.
conversation was a little intense, so we just lighten things up. So,
Okay.
without thinking, just give me what comes to your mind. Complete the sentence. A business is truly purpose driven when.
When people, planet, and profit are all in alignment in that order.
Wow. Okay, so your biggest we should have said no moment that has taught you about value alignment.
I have said no when I had to say no. I
Okay.
don't think we've ever just, yeah, sorry, but that's the answer. We've said no
Okay.
when we had to or
Okay.
when we should have.
Oh, that's nice. So then, do you judge other design consultancies for how they've handled purpose versus profit? Like if they've gone the
Absolutely not. Radhika, just to run a design consultancy is such an uphill task that
Mhm.
I admire every single design agency that runs. You know, just runs is in itself sort of a big virtue. So
Yes.
no judgment at all. I only have admiration for anybody who's running a design consultancy.
Love, love. So then, one piece of advice for designers who want to start purpose-driven business.
Just start. Don't wait. There's no ideal day.
Okay. Your most successful project that perfectly balanced commercial success and social impact.
Oh, this is a tough one because if I mention somebody, somebody else is going to be a little unhappy. But I think I can mention a couple of them, and they don't always have to be in the conventional
Hmm.
definition of social impact. But
Correct.
I really like our collaboration with Paperboat,
Ah,
which is a beverage.
yes.
It's a beverage which talks about drinks from memories.
Mm,
So, things, ethnic drinks that were sort of getting extinct have
yeah.
been brought back in a very contemporary format.
Yeah.
And I believe preserving a culture is in itself a social impact. And I think we've managed to do that really well with that company over last 12, 13 years that we've collaborated with them.
Correct.
So I would say that is one of my most successful projects where literally we are preserving culture one package at a time.
Lovely. So when purpose and profit seem to conflict, which one wins and why?
Purpose. Because you can do well by doing good. I believe profit follows,
Hmm.
and it did.
Hmm. So, in one word, what does sustainable business success feel like?
I think joyous,
Lovely.
joy at work. If there is no joy, there is no point.
True. True. Ashwini, this conversation has been incredibly inspiring and practical.
I have thoroughly enjoyed talking, Radhika.
Yeah,
Wonderful questions.
yeah, you've given us something really invaluable and a real, real world roadmap for building businesses that serve both bottom lines as well as the higher purposes. And your insights, your reasoning really has inspired, and you're choosing between profit and impact or, making them all align has been, very reinforcing of the fact that you can do good, you can have a purposeful business, and the design for all philosophy also that you bring about, your collective, everything that you've done is really very inspiring. So whether someone is just starting out their design career or building their next venture, you've demonstrated that value driven businesses isn't just morally right, it's strategically smart. And it creates deeper client relationships, more motivated teams, and resilient business models. So, for everyone listening out there, here's your takeaway from today. Start defining your own version of design for all. Think beyond the immediate profit into the systematic changes that your work could create. And remember, every project is an opportunity to move your business and society forward. Ashwini, where can people follow you and see the principles in action at Elephant Design and through the collective?
So you can follow Elephant and me both on Instagram and LinkedIn, and you can be sure that if you send a message or send a question, you'll get an answer in 24 hours from Elephant handle as well as mine.
Oh, love.
So welcome for a chat or question or suggestion, anything at all.
Lovely, lovely. Thanks for joining Design Mindset and for providing the most successful, businesses are those that serve something bigger than themselves. Thank you for reinforcing that with us. So,
Thank you, Radhika.
yeah. And for our audiences, remember, don't just build a business, build a movement. So see you guys next week.